Hello, my name is Eric Wolf, and for the screencast I'll be demonstrating the KVM hypervisor. KVM stands for Kernel-based Virtual Machine. It's one of the many freely available hypervisors for Linux. It comes in the vanilla kernel, along with Zen and C groups, or container groups. The development of KVM is headed up by Red Hat Incorporated. The reason I chose this hypervisor instead of some of the other available hypervisors like VirtualBox or VMware, it's really easy to spin up throwaway virtual machines for testing without assigning a dedicated virtual disk for those. One of the neat tricks you can do with this KVM is actually pass it raw block devices directly on the command line, so you can pass it a USB disk as boot media, or you can pass it a CD-ROM image as boot media, or even boot off of the network with Pixie booting. So I'll start out by showing you booting from a raw USB disk image. So here's my boot menu for my USB disk, and I'll demonstrate we can boot up Knoppix right off that USB disk. I didn't have to pass it any network parameters on the command line. It'll automatically use NAT networking, network address translation. So it'll set up kind of a private network and then do network address translation. So you see it has like a private address there, and it'll use NAT to actually connect to the internet through my host networking. So we'll just go to a couple websites here to demonstrate that it is in fact working. There we go. And to throw that away, I can just exit out of the window. KVM does have a GUI interface. I'm demonstrating this on Ubuntu, and there are a few bugs like configuring the virtual networking on Ubuntu. It works a little better on CentOS and Red Hat, but for most of my demonstration, this is going to be just from the command line. So here you see you have a pretty simple to use GUI. You can create a new machine, just clicking there and going through the wizard. So I'll show you how to do this from the command line now. I'm going to pass it a CD-ROM image, the Ubuntu install. Let's create a hard drive for this to install on. Also, I'll use QEMU image, pass it the create command. We're going to use the QCOW2 format, which stands for quick copy on write, which will allow me to thin provision this hard disk image for testing. We'll just call it test, and we'll give it 12 gigs of space. And to prove this is thin provision, it's only 190K, but it can hold up to 12 gigs of hard disk space. We'll pass the CD-ROM image, and then my test hard drive, and we'll go ahead and start the procedure to install Ubuntu on here. Okay, we've got our installer up. I'll just click through a bit of this. I'm not going to go through the whole install. We don't want to download any updates. Just partition our disk as it sees fit. There's our 12 gig hard drive we allocated. Set our time zone and language. We'll set a weak password because I'm not going to keep this image anyway. It's just a throwaway. And since this could take 20 or 30 minutes to actually install, I'm going to close out of this and show you an image I prepared in advance. So all I have to do to boot up my prepared image is pass it the image name. And it should boot up within a few seconds. And there's my virtual machine. I could put this in Virt Manager and create a virtual machine, pre-configured virtual machine around this hard disk, but it's just as easy to run it instantaneously from the command line, like on demand. And there we have networking. Same as before, it's going to be network address translation because I didn't explicitly set up any networking for this virtual machine. It's just going to use the default virtual machine. It's networking that's pre-configured. Well, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments. Thanks.